We are sending them to the United States Capitol, where the Biden administration will be able to more immediately address the needs of the people that they are allowing to come across our border.
In addition to other measures, the state will begin sending migrants on charter buses directly to Washington, dropping them off at the steps of the U.S. Capitol. Governor Abbott joins us now from Austin, Texas, and I know that you are incredibly frustrated that the federal government is not doing its job in order to protect the border. You've committed state resources to do that.
Well, let me explain how this whole process works. First, the big goal that we're seeking to achieve, and that is Joe Biden has refused to come to the border to see the chaos that he has created by his open border policies. So we're going to take the border to him by transporting the people that he is dropping off in these local communities in the state of Texas and sending them to Washington by plane or by bus.
We need to understand exactly why Greg Abbott is trying to do this. Right now, alongside his attacks on trans folks in the state, Greg Abbott is attacking undocumented immigrants. Now, one of the things that's very ridiculous about this is that Greg Abbott, much like the other Republicans, is deeply insistent on just fundamentally lying. The reality is Joe Biden does not have an open border policy. To suggest that there is an open border policy in any regard is absolutely ridiculous on its face. In fact, one of my frustrations, and the biggest frustrations that a lot of progressives have had with Joe Biden, is the fact that he has not done much to get rid of the Trump administration policies when it comes to immigration, and that a lot of the horrific things that we saw happening under Donald Trump are continuing to happen under Joe Biden. That is the reality of the situation that is happening right now, but we need to understand something that's very important. A lot of people are afraid to say that they're in support of open borders, but we need to understand what that would really mean and why these border policies exist. You see, right-wingers and capitalists in the United States depend on and actively manufacture racism against people immigrating to the United States. They do this because having a strict border policy is how they keep wages down, not only in the United States, but also in other countries as well. You see, if people are trapped in countries that have low wages by border policies, it makes it easier for companies and capital to move from one country to another in order to manipulate the global economy to press wages down as much as possible. If we had open borders, workers from countries that had lower wages on average would tend to move to countries where wages were higher. But you see, that would cause labor shortages in those countries with lower wages, and those labor shortages would lead to more bargaining power for workers to fight for higher wages. So they would get higher wages. And if they got higher wages, then we would get higher wages. And think about this. Literally, the whole idea of borders and passports is actually something that has its roots and origin in feudalism. Because if you tied people to land that they were born on, you would greatly limit the amount of bargaining power they have over the feudal lords. Now, in this instance, instead of feudal lords, it's just wealthy capitalists. Because you see, it's actually quite difficult to move a factory from one place to another, and it's a lot easier to move an individual person or a family from one country to another in order to seek more opportunity, which is why capitalists created this border and passport system that we have today. They wanted to make sure that during the industrial age, that workers would not be able to outcompete capitalists when it comes to moving around to bargain for higher wages. But in order to maintain that system, they had to create popular resentment among working class people. They had to actively divide working class people around the world, which is why Greg Abbott and the Republicans, and to be clear, the Democrats as well, participate in racist fear-mongering about wages in different countries, and racist fear-mongering about the people moving from one country to another. This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain on the Young Turks Twitch channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to stay up to date with my content, you can follow me at Benjamin Carollo on Twitter. And lastly, to those of you who might be wondering or have noticed, my pronouns are in fact she, her.